in the 1970s, in Hongqing town. Song Jiqing asked me to give up my job as a salesperson at the supply and marketing cooperative to my widowed sister-in-law. He promised to support me for life. But when my younger sister needed to go to school and I begged him to use his salary for her tuition, he said his widowed sister-in-law's children had no father and were pitiful, so his salary had to be saved for their education. Later, I sold my job at the supply and marketing cooperative, started a street stall business, and became wealthy. Yet he came crying, begging me to come back. Before his passing, Dad passed on the job at the supply and marketing cooperative to me. Holding my hand and my younger sister's, he said with tears in his eyes, "With both Mom and Dad gone, you two sisters must take good care of each other from now on. The job at the cooperative goes to your elder sister, and her salary must support your younger sister as she grows up. You two must never fight. The elder sister must protect the younger one, and the younger sister must also understand the elder sister's hardships. Do you remember?" My sister and I, each holding one of Dad's hands tightly, sobbed uncontrollably. Yet in the end, his once warm hands gradually turned cold. After Dad's passing, I packed up our belongings and decided to rent out the house allocated to our family by the cooperative. This way, the rent could be saved for my sister's college education. Just then, Song Jiqing arrived with Han Qingqing. Nan, now that Dad's gone, I was thinking, since this house is sitting empty anyway. Your sister-in-law is struggling with 2 kids. Why not let them move in? I looked up at him and said, "This house was left to me and Yang by Dad." Song Jiqing grew anxious. "Yang is still young, are you really okay with her living here alone? How about this, let Yang move in with us. This place is just sitting empty anyway, perfect for letting sister-in-law and her family move in. If you hire someone to watch the house, you'd have to pay them. Let sister-in-law stay here, she can keep an eye on the place for free." A mocking smile curled at the corners of my lips. If I rented out, the tenants would watch the house for me and pay $3 a month. Song Jiqing's face instantly turned ashen. Han Qingqing suddenly covered her face and burst into tears. "Jiqing, forget it. I don't have a job, I can't afford $3 a month in rent. I'll just go back and live with my parents. Mom doesn't like me anyway, if she hits or scolds me, it's only fair." Song Jiqing grabbed his sister-in-law's arm and coldly ordered me, "I'm your husband. This household is mine to manage. Clean up the house and give me the keys. Tomorrow, we'll help sister-in-law move in." I glanced at him but said nothing, turning back to tidy the room. Thinking I'd agreed, Song Jiqing happily left with Han Qingqing. Watching their figures draw closer as they walked away, my eyes burned. Not a single tear fell. Ever since my eldest cousin was crushed to death by a train while stealing coal, Song Jiqing had poured his heart into taking care of sister-in-law Han Qingqing and her 2 children. He said they didn't have enough to eat. So he gave Han Qingqing all the fine grains and malted milk powder my father had sent to nourish me. Meanwhile, I suffered a miscarriage at 2 months pregnant due to anemia and malnutrition. He said Han Qingqing and her children had no winter clothes. So he gave her the 3 padded jackets and 3 pairs of cotton shoes I just made. My little sister wore thin shoes through the bitter cold, her tiny feet covered in frostbite. And now, with just a few words, he wanted to hand over the house my father left us, to Han Qingqing. But this time, I refused to endure it. Returning home with my younger sister, I made 2 bowls of rice cake soup. One for my sister, one for me. None for Song Jiqing. After all, he wouldn't be coming home for dinner. Song Jiqing worked as an accountant at the slaughterhouse, a job with plenty of perks. It was arranged by my father through connections, not for anything else, but so that I could have more meat to eat by sticking with Song Jiqing. But ever since Han Qingqing became a widow, it's been a full year since I've seen Song Jiqing bring any meat home. The slaughterhouse often distributed things like pork head meat, blood, or offal. Every time, Song Jiqing would deliver them straight to Han Qingqing's house. And naturally, he'd stay for a meal there. Today was no exception. The slaughterhouse handed out a rare piece of pork liver. Song Jiqing had already forgotten that I was anemic and needed it more. Without a second thought, he took the liver straight to Han Qingqing's house. When he returned, the scent of spinach and pork liver soup still clung to him. Seeing my sister and me eating plain rice cake soup, a flicker of guilt and unease flashed in Song Jiqing's eyes. He stammered an explanation. Sister-in-law said she's been feeling dizzy lately, probably anemic, so I gave the liver to her first. Next time the factory distributes liver, I'll definitely bring it home. I nodded silently and continued eating my rice cake, fighting back tears of frustration. When my father was still alive, my mother would add a bit of lard to the rice cake soup. That made it fragrant, with the rice cake soft and flavorful. But ever since Han Qingqing became a widow, I hadn't tasted lard again. Whatever little lard the slaughterhouse distributed was taken by Song Jiqing to Han Qingqing. After dinner, Song Jiqing seemed to have something to say, lingering around the kitchen. I set down my bowl and turned to face him. Hesitating for a moment, he finally spoke. Mom's been urging us to have a child soon. I was thinking, since your health isn't great, why not just give the supply and marketing cooperative job to sister-in-law? I've already talked to her, she'll give you 10 yuan out of her 30 yuan monthly salary. That way, you can rest at home during pregnancy. Sister-in-law will also have a job to support her 2 kids. I asked him expressionlessly, what about our younger sister's schooling? He blurted out, don't I still have my salary? I sneered, isn't your salary already going to Han Qingqing? Flustered, Song Jiqing muttered, that won't happen anymore. If you give the cooperative job to Qingqing, she'll have her own income and won't need my help. I looked at this man who was nominally my husband, feeling nothing but despair. So you're saying I should give Han Qingqing my 30 yuan monthly salary from the cooperative, just to get your salary back? Song Jiqing, since when? The cooperative job was passed down to me by my father. Why should I give it to Han Qingqing? You're my husband. Your salary is supposed to be mine too. Since when did my husband's salary become Han Qingqing's? Song Jiqing's face twisted in shame before he lashed out angrily, you know perfectly well that my cousin saved my life. Qingqing and I have been classmates since elementary school. Now that my cousin's gone, we should take care of Qingqing. I cut him off, you should take care of her, not me. Just because Han Qingqing lost her husband, does that mean she gets to steal mine? With a sharp slap, Song Jiqing struck me across the face. Suddenly, my younger sister rushed out from the inner room and shoved Song Jiqing hard. Like a young wolf baring its fangs for the first time, she stood firmly in front of me, shielding me. Don't you dare bully my sister. Song Jiqing seemed to snap back to his senses, his face pale with panic as he looked at me and said, Nan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But your words were too harsh. There's nothing between me and sister-in-law, don't let your imagination run wild. And don't repeat what you just said. If word gets out, how will Qingqing ever hold her head up? I kept my head down, silent. Song Jiqing softened his tone, coaxing me in a pleading voice, Nan, the supply and marketing cooperative job is too exhausting for you, your health can't take it. Let Qingqing take it instead. You stay home, rest, and focus on giving me a healthy son. Don't worry, I'll take care of you from now on. Okay. I shook my head again. No. I can give up anything else, but not this job. The supply and marketing cooperative job was passed down to me by my father. If Han Qingqing wants a job, she can go ask her own father. I sneered inwardly. Han Qingqing's parents were farmers in the village, they didn't even have an iron rice bowl. Even if they did, her parents favored sons over daughters, and with 3 brothers in the family, she, as a married-off daughter, wouldn't even be in line for anything. Seeing that I wouldn't budge no matter what, Song Jiqing's temper flared. He threatened me, if you won't give the supply and marketing cooperative job to Qingqing, then I'll just give her my slaughterhouse job instead. I turned my head away, refusing to look at him, and replied indifferently, do whatever you want. Song Jiqing stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Watching Song Jiqing's figure disappear down the narrow path leading to Han Qingqing's house, I pursed my lips and took my younger sister to Director Lu's home at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. I knew Director Lu's niece also wanted a position at the cooperative. When she heard I intended to sell my formal job there, she was overjoyed. She had me wait at her house, and before long, she returned with her brother and niece. A permanent position at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative was highly sought after, and in the end, I sold it for 800 yuan. Holding the money, I thought for a moment and then asked if they were also interested in the house allocated to my father by the cooperative. Director Lu looked at me in surprise. If you sell the house, where will you and your sister live? I plan to take my sister back to our grandmother's home, I replied. Director Lu was stunned. But what about you and Xiao Song? Then, as if realizing something, she sighed and stepped outside to discuss it with her brother. Eventually, they decided to buy our house for an additional 200 yuan. Once the money was in hand, I asked Director Lu to keep it confidential for the time being, not to tell anyone yet that I had sold my job. She nodded in agreement. My father had just passed away, and I still had 3 days of bereavement leave left. I wouldn't need to report back to the cooperative until after those 3 days. 3 days would be enough for me to settle everything properly. Returning home, I could hear the laughter of several children from afar as I approached the house. Holding my sister's hand, I quickened my pace, only to nearly faint at the sight before me. After my father passed away, relatives and friends sent over many items, including some belongings left behind by my parents. Worried that the old house might be too crowded and things could get stolen, I moved everything to Song Jiqing's place. But now, Han Qingqing's 3 children had scattered my parents' belongings all over the floor. The only surviving photo of my parents together had been thrown into a chamber pot, completely soaked and ruined. A sharp ringing filled my head as I raised my arm and slapped Han Qingqing hard across the face. Get out! Suddenly, a strong force shoved me aside. My lower back slammed into the edge of a table, sending waves of pain through my body. Song Jiqing tenderly cupped Han Qingqing's face, his eyes blazing with fury when he saw the bright red handprint. Cheng Nan Nan. What the hell is wrong with you? Apologize to Qingqing right now. I glared at him coldly. She's the one who should apologize. I left my parents' belongings here untouched. Who gave them permission to mess with them? Han Qingqing looked aggrieved. Jiqing told me to come and take some things. Song Jiqing quickly nodded in agreement. That's right. Qingqing said she's about to move out, and her mother-in-law isn't giving her anything, forcing her to leave with nothing. So I told her to come here and take what she needs first. With reddened eyes, I fished my parents' photo out of the chamber pot and shoved it in Song Jiqing's face. What kind of taking things involves throwing my parents' photo into a piss bucket? Han Qingqing, explain yourself. Han Qingqing, taken aback by my reaction, paled and stammered, it's my fault, but you were the one who insisted on placing the photo frame on the dresser. The kids were probably just playing around, running in the house, and accidentally knocked it down. Seeing the photo in the chamber pot, even Song Jiqing realized things had gone too far. But his habit of siding with Han Qingqing kicked in, and he immediately defended her. With a displeased expression, he scolded me, "The kids are still young, it wasn't on purpose." So what if the photo got ruined? Find the negative, and I'll get it reprinted for you tomorrow. How about 10 copies? Will that be enough? There is no negative. Clutching my parents' photo, I stood up and stared at him coldly. Song Jiqing, let's get a divorce. Hearing me calmly utter the word, divorce, Song Jiqing froze, his expression suddenly flustered. Nan, I know you're very upset right now. I promise I'll give you an explanation for this matter. It's getting late. You and Yang should rest first. I'll take Qingqing and the others home. With a loud bang, the door was shut from the outside. My younger sister burst into tears. Sis, I don't like brother-in-law. Can we go back to our own home? I nodded, carefully dismantling the photo frame and using a dry towel to soak up the yellowed urine stains. Then, with my sister, I picked up everything scattered on the floor. In the corner were 2 large bundles. Unwrapping them, I found they were all valuable gifts from relatives and friends: malted milk powder, brown sugar, cotton fabric, candies, pastries, and the like. I let out a bitter laugh. So, Song Jiqing didn't just want to give my family's house to Han Qingqing. He also wanted to hand over my job at the supply and marketing cooperative to her. Even when Han Qingqing moved into her new home, whatever was missing, he'd take from my parents' belongings. Why? Carrying a large bag, I started knocking on doors one by one. I spent the entire night selling everything I could to the neighbors. As for my parents' belongings, I repacked them, planning to take them to the supply and marketing cooperative at dawn and leave them with an acquaintance for safekeeping until I could retrieve them when I left. That night, Song Jiqing never came home. I didn't bother about him. In the morning, after dropping my sister off at school, I headed straight to the slaughterhouse. I sought out the factory director and publicly demanded Song Jiqing's unpaid wages for the past year. Director, my family is so poor we can barely afford food. When exactly is the slaughterhouse going to pay the wages? It's been delayed for almost a year now. The director was furious. When has our factory ever delayed wages? Feigning fear, I replied, my husband works as an accountant here, and he hasn't brought home a single wage in a year. Isn't that the factory withholding pay? The director immediately summoned Song Jiqing. Hearing that I came to the factory to demand wages, Song Jiqing's face turned bright red. He grabbed my arm and tried to drag me outside. I broke free and shouted loudly in front of the factory director and the workers, my husband earns 35 yuan a month, and not a single cent has made it home. It must be the factory withholding his wages. I'm warning you, give me my husband's wages for the past year right now. Otherwise, don't blame me if I report you to the county. The factory director's face turned livid with anger, and the look he gave Song Jiqing was downright murderous. Xiao Song. As the accountant, you know damn well whether the factory has withheld your wages or not. I don't care if you've been stashing it away as private savings or sneaking it back to your mother. Get the money back now and send your wife home. By then, the other workers had caught on, and they all started pointing at Song Jiqing, chattering among themselves. Who would have thought Accountant Song was this kind of man, earning 35 yuan a month and not giving his wife a single cent? Poor woman. Her husband works at the slaughterhouse, so it's not like they're short on meat, but look how thin she is. Pitiful, really. You don't know the half of it. I've seen it myself. every time the factory distributes meat, Song takes his share straight to Widow Han's place. Must be fooling around with her, handing his wages over to her too. The gossip swirling around made Song Jiqing wish he could dig a hole and disappear. But the truth was, he'd already spent all that money on Han Qingqing. While I was picking through vegetable scraps at the morning market, he was eating braised pork with Han Qingqing at the state-run restaurant. While I was patching up my old cotton-padded jacket, he bought her a stylish woolen coat. While I was scavenging coal scraps along the railroad tracks, he bought her a brand new hot water bottle. Song Jiqing always said that Han Qingqing, a widow raising 2 kids, had it rough. But he never saw how his own wife at home went hungry and shivered in the cold, looking as wretched as a beggar. But now, this beggar was going to make sure those 2 shameless lovers paid back every last cent they owed me. Seeing that I absolutely refused to leave, Song Jiqing finally grew desperate and pleaded with me, Nan, whatever you have to say, can we talk about it at home? If you want my salary, starting next month, I'll hand over every penny to you without fail, okay? I shook my head. No, I want what's owed from before. If you don't give it to me, I'll make a scene at the county office, at the provincial office. You go to work every day but never bring your wages home. At worst, I'll ruin this job of yours. Then we'll both go back to the village and farm. Song Jiqing's face darkened. His lips trembled as he stared at me in disbelief. Cheng Nan, are you really going to go this far? I looked at him calmly. You and Han Qingqing forced my hand. Song Jiqing, for the sake of our marriage, I'll give you 1 day. At this time tomorrow, I'll come to the factory to collect the money. You haven't brought a single cent home in a year. Even if you had no other income, your fixed salary is 35 yuan a month. 12 months in a year, that's 420 yuan. 420 yuan. If even a single Mao is missing, I'll report you, Song Jiqing, and every single one of your slaughterhouse bosses. The moment I said this, the factory director's expression changed instantly. In the 1970s, embezzling public funds carried severe penalties, some cases even ended in execution. I knew the slaughterhouse was lucrative, and the director definitely had his own dirty dealings. Hearing my words, the director glared fiercely at Song Jiqing before calling him into his office. When they emerged, Song Jiqing was holding a thick envelope. Spotting me, he flung it into my arms. 420 yuan, not a single cent short. Count it if you want. Looking at the thick stack of cash, Song Jiqing's heart bled. To get rid of me, this walking disaster, the director had forced him to advance his entire salary for the next year. Next year, he wouldn't receive a single penny. There was no way he could keep subsidizing Han Qingqing like before. I put the money into my bag, looked up at Song Jiqing, and made my second demand, let's get a divorce. Song Jiqing stared at me in shock. I've already agreed to hand over my salary to you. What more do you want? I calmly met his gaze. If you don't divorce me, the next time you dare to go to Han Qingqing's house, I'll bring people to catch you in the act. Surely you don't want to see your precious Qingqing become a disgraced woman everyone scorns. The mention of Han Qingqing made Song Jiqing react like a cat with its tail stepped on. He jumped up in agitation, still trying to justify himself. There's nothing between me and sister-in-law. It's all completely innocent. I smiled faintly and asked him just one question, Song Jiqing, could you bear never seeing Han Qingqing again from this moment onward? I watched him with cold detachment. My gaze made Song Jiqing visibly uncomfortable. Yet he clenched his teeth stubbornly, refusing to go through with the divorce. I had no intention of dragging this out any further and simply focused on making the final preparations to leave. My grandmother's family lived in the neighboring town. After she passed away, the old house had been empty for a long time. Fortunately, I had my salary from work, plus the year's wages I got back from Song Jiqing, which added up to quite a bit. I went to my grandmother's place, spent 50 yuan to hire some help, and gave the old house a simple renovation. I also handled the transfer procedures for my younger sister. On the last day, I hired an ox cart and loaded my luggage onto it piece by piece. Just then, Song Jiqing arrived with Han Qingqing, holding Han Qingqing's little daughter in his arms. The three of them walked over, chatting and laughing. Seeing me standing in the yard with an ox cart beside me, Song Jiqing froze for a moment. Then his eyes widened as he looked at me in disbelief. "Nan Nan, are you really leaving? I haven't agreed to a divorce." I glanced at Han Qingqing behind him and suddenly said, "We don't have to divorce, but you have to write me a written guarantee. Just write, from now on, never go to Han Qingqing again, and never give her money or things. If you can do that, I'll agree to stay and live a good life with you." I looked at Han Qingqing. I was certain in my heart that this woman would never give up on Song Jiqing, the fool. Sure enough, Song Jiqing hesitated for just a moment. Han Qingqing's eyes immediately reddened, looking at Song Jiqing with a pitiful expression. "Jiqing, it's me who caused trouble for your sister-in-law. Go and comfort Nan Nan quickly. From now on, you two should live well together. Just don't worry about the three of us. It's my own bad luck, not having Nanan's good fortune, not meeting a good man like you." With that, she covered her face and ran out. Song Jiqing looked at me, then at Han Qingqing who was running away. Finally, he stomped his foot and hurriedly said, "I'll go check on her and come back." Then, without looking back, he chased after Han Qingqing. I took my younger sister and moved into our grandmother's old house. By the late 1970s, small businesses began to emerge in our small town. I set up a stall in an alley near my sister's school and took a train to the provincial capital's wholesale market to stock up on trendy hair clips, headbands, scarves, hats, and similar items. No matter the era, women's money is always easy to earn. Within half a year, I made my first pot of gold from the stall and bought a storefront near the school. The following year, I opened the town's first privately owned department store. 2 storefronts, the left side sold clothes and leather shoes, while the right side still offered all kinds of novel small accessories. The clothes I sold were all wholesale from the south, stylish and fashionable, paired with matching leather shoes and bags. Soon, people from nearby towns came to buy clothes from me. The small accessories on the right, though cheap, had even higher profit margins than the clothes. A year later, with the earnings from the store, I bought 2 more storefronts in the county town and continued opening clothing and accessory shops. A few years later, my clothing and accessory stores had expanded to the provincial capital. It was then that Director Liu from the Supply and Marketing Cooperative suddenly sent me a letter. It turned out that the town's Supply and Marketing Cooperative had been operating at a loss for several years, and the higher-ups decided to shut it down. While cleaning out the warehouse, they found some of my late father's belongings and asked if I still wanted them. "Yes. I'll come back right away." That very afternoon, I had my driver take me back to town in my newly bought Santana. I never expected to see Song Jiqing again at the Supply and Marketing Cooperative. He looked much older, carrying a burlap sack in his hand, standing at the entrance of the Supply and Marketing Cooperative, scrambling for goods with a group of elderly men and women. The cooperative had cleared out a pile of unwanted inventory and put it on sale at the entrance. Song Jiqing grabbed a few pairs of Liberation shoes with detached soles, along with some cheap bowls, dishes, and chopsticks. The moment he saw me, his eyes suddenly widened, and he stumbled toward me. Seeing his limping gait, I asked him, "What happened to your leg?" Song Jiqing gave a bitter smile and said, it was broken by a pig when I was slaughtering it at the abattoir. It turned out that after I caused a scene at the abattoir that year, the factory director took the opportunity to strip Song Jiqing of his accountant position and replaced him with his own relative. Song Jiqing was sent to the abattoir workshop to slaughter pigs. How could a frail scholar like him have the strength to slaughter pigs? Not long after, because he failed to tie up a pig properly, a large pig broke free and injured several people. The most seriously injured was Song Jiqing, who was standing right next to the large pig and had one leg and two ribs broken by the enraged animal. After he recovered from his injuries, the factory director wouldn't even let him return to the workshop and sent him to guard the gate instead. All the factory employees were getting raises, but only Song Jiqing's salary was reduced from 35 yuan a month to 20 yuan a month. The ridiculous thing was that even under these circumstances, Han Qingqing still acted the same as before, constantly bringing their two children and asking Song Jiqing to take them to the state-run restaurant for special meals. She also wanted to buy fashionable jeans, floral shirts, and leather shoes. Song Jiqing's meager income was nowhere near enough to cover these expenses. I don't know what he was thinking, but he actually remembered the job my father had left for me. He took Han Qingqing to the supply and marketing cooperative, insisting that since I had left, the job my father left for me should be passed on to him. He decided to let Han Qingqing take over my position. The staff at the cooperative burst into laughter. Director Liu then informed him that I had already sold the job long ago. What about the cooperative's housing? That's been sold to my relative too. With both the housing and the job gone, Han Qingqing had no choice but to cling to Song Jiqing, pressuring him to marry her. But by this point, Song Jiqing was already regretting getting involved with Han Qingqing. She was lazy, extravagant, and had two children to support. He knew full well that if he married her, his monthly salary of 20 yuan wouldn't be enough to sustain the whole family. However, Han Qingqing was cunning. First, she played the victim, tearfully claiming her mother-in-law despised her and wanted to marry her off to an old widower. Moved by her plight, Song Jiqing let Han Qingqing and her two children move in. But the very next day, disaster struck. Han Qingqing prepared a lavish meal, got Song Jiqing drunk, and arranged for someone to discover them in bed together. Now, Song Jiqing had no choice but to marry her. Hearing this, I laughed. Isn't that great? Congratulations to you both, love has finally triumphed. Song Jiqing's eyes dimmed. No, it's not good. Han Qingqing isn't like you, she's not the kind of woman who knows how to manage a household at all. After they got married, Han Qingqing continued her old ways, living comfortably at home, waiting for Song Jiqing's paycheck at the end of each month. But when the end of the month came, she learned that, in order to afford the divorce, Song Jiqing had taken an advance on his entire year's salary from the slaughterhouse. That meant for the next full year, Song Jiqing would have to work as usual but wouldn't receive a single penny. Han Qingqing immediately turned on him, and they had a huge fight. Song Jiqing, no longer doting on her as before, mocked her to her face. Didn't I give you that entire year's salary already? You're the one who spent it all recklessly and couldn't save a dime. Now that we're broke, you have the nerve to blame me. With no money left for food, Han Qingqing had to sell off the wool coat, watch, gold ring, and leather shoes Song Jiqing had bought her. But with two children still in school, the money from those sales was soon gone. After the family ran out of food again, Song Jiqing had no choice but to follow the example of others at the slaughterhouse, stealing bits of pork or offal to sell on the black market. But the good times didn't last. Soon, the slaughterhouse noticed discrepancies in the pork inventory and, after investigating, fired several people at once. Among them was Song Jiqing, the security guard. After being fired, not only did Song Jiqing receive no compensation, but he also still owed the slaughterhouse over 300 yuan from his salary advance, which the factory demanded he repay within a year. To make ends meet, Song Jiqing had to take on grueling manual labor. Before long, under Song Jiqing's harsh treatment, the pampered Han Qingqing also began taking odd jobs around town, mending clothes, collecting scrap, and assembling paper boxes. But she couldn't endure the hardship. Less than 6 months later, while Song Jiqing was away, she took the 200+ yuan he had painstakingly saved and ran off with a traveling peddler. After Han Qingqing ran off with the peddler, for some reason, Song Jiqing actually felt relieved. He sent Han Qingqing's 2 children to live with their grandparents, making it clear that he was only their stepfather. If even their own mother had abandoned them, he, as a stepfather, had no obligation to keep raising another man's children. At this point, Song Jiqing looked at me with deep emotion. Nan Nan, I've finally seen that bitch Han Qingqing for who she really is. I swear, I'll never go looking for her again. I've even sent her 2 burdens away. Nan Nan, please forgive me. Come back to me, won't you? Or I'll go with you to the provincial capital. From now on, I'll listen to you in everything, hand over every penny I earn to you. I shook my head, unwilling to say another word to him, and turned to enter the supply and marketing cooperative. Behind me, the onlookers erupted in scornful chatter. This Song Jiqing really doesn't know his place. A ragged old man who picks through trash, and he still thinks he can marry that woman who rides in a car. You don't know. That woman is Lao Song's first wife. I heard he got involved with some pretty widow back then and drove his original wife away for her. Lao Song really messed up. If he hadn't fooled around back then and just lived properly with his wife, wouldn't he be riding in a car now too? As the crowd's mockery and laughter surrounded him, Song Jiqing suddenly collapsed to his knees, covering his face and weeping uncontrollably. At the supply and marketing cooperative warehouse, I found my father's belongings left behind. There was a group photo of him receiving an award for representing the cooperative in a table tennis competition. There was also a photo of him participating in a money-counting contest. In the crowd of onlookers, I spotted my mother in her younger days. And there I was, held in my mother's arms. Clutching a stack of precious photos, I expressed my gratitude to Director Liu repeatedly. But Director Liu, her face flushed, explained that it had taken them a great deal of effort to track down my father's belongings. Nan Nan, the higher-ups are planning to shut down our station in this town. All of us here are about to lose our jobs. I heard your business is doing really well now, and you've opened many stores. Could you possibly let the sales clerks from our station try working at your stores? Don't worry, we'll definitely go through the proper recruitment channels. Whether they get hired will depend entirely on their own abilities. We won't put you in a difficult position. I suddenly smiled, pointed at the already emptied supply and marketing cooperative station, and said to Director Liu, actually, I didn't come back this time just to retrieve my father's keepsake. I'm planning to buy these 3 storefronts of the supply and marketing cooperative, renovate them, and open a branch store. Director Liu, would you be willing to continue working with me? Director Liu and I sat down for a chat. We decided to have her conduct internal evaluations first. Those salespeople who slacked off or treated customers poorly would be dismissed outright during this opportunity. The remaining staff would be arranged to intern at nearby branches. Once they passed the probationary assessments, and the town branch was renovated, they could be transferred back to continue working in their original positions. Hearing my arrangements, Director Liu repeatedly thanked me and even invited me to her home for a meal. Coincidentally, I also wanted to take another look at my old house, so I followed Director Liu back. The old dormitory building of the supply and marketing cooperative was still the same 3-story tube-shaped apartment from before. The 2 osmanthus trees in the front yard, which were only as tall as me when I was a child, had now grown to the height of 2 stories. After having a meal at Director Lu's place, I stepped outside to find that the driver had been replaced by my husband, Lu Heng. Dressed in an iron-gray trench coat, Lu Heng gazed at me with tender eyes. I rushed over in a few quick steps, throwing myself into his arms, and looked up at him in delighted surprise. "Why are you here? Where's the driver?" Lu Heng smiled. "I gave the driver 2 days off. Since we're back here so rarely, I thought I'd accompany you for a couple of days in your hometown." So, for the next 2 days, we stayed at Director Lu's place. I took Lu Heng to the school where my sister and I had studied as children, and to the morning market to eat the local breakfast specialties we'd enjoyed back then. When we passed by the slaughterhouse, I heard that the factory had gone bankrupt and shut down years ago. Pointing at the rust-covered gate, I laughed and said to Lu Heng, "This was where I caused a scene at the slaughterhouse after my ex-husband got involved with a widow and gave her all his wages. That was how I finally divorced him." Lu Heng burst into laughter, hugged me tightly, and planted a firm kiss on my lips. "Lucky for me that your ex was blind, otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten the chance to pick up such a treasure." Amid the laughter, I thought I caught sight of a familiar figure. Hunched and disheveled, it slipped away along the slaughterhouse's crumbling wall. "Goodbye, Song Jiqing. Goodbye forever."